Now, back to something that we've done over the last couple of studies and looking at the isms. The two that I've mentioned, globalism, and this is really kind of more talking about political and geopolitical of globalism, and really it is what grips most of the world. The big organizations that you find in the world like the UN, and the lesser things that are just kind of more boutique type things like the World Economic Forum, and the different groups that have assembled through the years, they all have this way of trying to say, how do we not be so isolated? How can we become much more maybe interdependent? And that nobody has to be in the place of prominence. We should all do everything pulling in the same direction. That's more of a globalist mindset. There are others that we looked at the last time. The nationalists would say, yeah, but there can be a real problem with that, because you can take the strongest and the most affluent of countries and really kind of put them on the hook for taking care of the needs of others, when we should be concerned about taking care of the needs of us first. And then if we can look to taking care of others. That's more of the nationalist look. And so you hear the globalists and the nationalists, they're always, saying things against one another, and it's just a big mess. It's basically modern day politics in our country. We probably see it as obvious as it's ever been before. So it's also in a geopolitical sense. You see it with the rest of the world. It's kind of the same thing. You have the nationalists and you have the globalists. So we've looked at that up to this point. Now, what I want to also realize, and sometimes it gets lost in the discussion, you also have among us what we would call theists. And so from the Greek word theos, which is God, these are people, theists would be the ones who believe that we should be God-governed. So interestingly enough, we only think of kind of one group of people as theists in our world, wrongly so, I think. But we'll look at Islam and say, well, yeah, they're theists. I mean, we're involved in a fight with them right now with Iran. That is a theocratic country. These are people who are adherents of Islam, and their view of things is that they as a people should be ruled by God in the Quran and Sharia as their basis for their law. But they're not content with that, because they believe that everyone else should be subject to that. The globalists think we should all be globalists. The nationalists think that every nation should see to its own needs and not interfere with anybody else. The theists, depending on what variety they are, in this case with Islam and Iran, it's not just that they have to be God-governed. Not should be, not could be, they must be, because the Quran dictates so. But it goes on further that it's not just for us, it must be worldwide. We have to impose this as the belief. Now, as far as theisms are concerned, how are people governed as a theism? You find basically throughout the Muslim world, because it's acceptable within Islam. You will find people that try to make that case for the Christian worldview, that we should be a theistic kind of a nation here in the US or other places, but you will have people that are devout Christians who think that we should take back all the power in this country and run it as a theocracy. That would be a failure, because man's still going to be involved with it, and God never called us to such a thing in the New Testament. The time will come when God will rule and reign. That's going to be a theocracy like we've never seen before. A theocratic monarchy is what that's going to be. It's a king who rules in righteousness. So yes, we will worship the one true God as a theocracy, but we see him as a king. So it's ultimately his kingdom. He is the regent. He is the king. He is the monarch. But we aren't told that we're supposed to turn the world that way. It's for him to do it. We inherit a kingdom. We don't create one. So it's best that we understand our terms when it comes to that. Now, I would also say that there is a theocracy that they would never agree to it, but secular humanism is a theocracy, though they don't realize that it is the worship of self. They are their own God because they are self-determinate as they see it. Now, of course, God doesn't recognize them. They will have to bow the knee to him someday, though they don't even recognize that he lives. But let's remember, when it comes to the isms, there is theism, people who believe that, but then there is also humanism, that man is the ultimate authority, man is his own God, though they would never say it that way, but that's ultimately it. they answer to self. They have no one to whom they must answer. So when it comes to the isms, again, theisms are very important, and it's good for us to understand of the various isms that you see in the theistic kind of a situation, what do they intend to do? And the one that is the single biggest threat on the planet, because they see that it is their God-given authority to subjugate the world, and that's what they're supposed to do, or they're going to have a problem with their God. That's when it starts to become pretty obvious why they do the things that they do in the world. And that's why when we watch the stuff happening with our country and Iran and the other countries that are having to contend with them, if they don't understand that element of it, if they don't understand the theocracy and the theism behind Islam, they'll never be able to understand why this stuff doesn't seem to work with normal, rational people. What they believe is not rational. I know that might make some people mad, but if you believe that your God is telling you that you must govern yourself by his standards, and then you must subdue the earth and force them to do likewise, that's unusual. That's even for the people that would say, well, that's what the God of the Bible did with the children of Israel. Not true. They were supposed to be governed by him, but he nowhere ever told them that they were to go out and control and conquer the rest of the world and make them subject themselves to God. God doesn't force people to do that, and he doesn't ask us to try to force people to do it as well. Anybody who has ever tried to do something like that in his name has been a free agent, and they were not doing what he had asked them to do. So let's make sure we don't make the mistake of assuming something that really doesn't even fit. So isms. The world is run by isms, though people oftentimes don't even acknowledge it. They don't even recognize it, but nonetheless, this is the truth. Isms, whether it's nationalism, whether it's globalism, whether it's theism, this accounts for how man conducts himself in the world, and having an operational knowledge of which one's which and how it is that they want to interact with the rest of the world helps us to maybe start to see how it is that they plan to implement such things and what we should do, if anything, that can be done in the way of preparation for it. But it'll certainly put everything in a context. And I'll finish by saying this. I favor the idea of a theocratic kingdom. It will never happen, as far as this world is concerned, by man's efforts. It will be something that Jesus institutes when he comes back to the earth. Until such time, I'll live under some form of man-made government that will be either good, bad, failure, success. It just kind of ebbs and flows as our country is concerned. But none of it will ever be what God intends until he sets up the theocratic kingdom that he has promised to us. But we, at the same time, do want to be careful of the world in which we live, because whether people like it or not, the people who want to, as Christians, say, not going to have any part of it, I'm not going to be involved, I won't engage, I won't this, that, and the other thing, just realize it, that the secularists, the humanists, and the socialists that we will look at next, those kind of people, they're going to make the decision for you. So if it's ever in your ability to have anything to say about it, I don't understand why people just check out of that, because that means ultimately somebody's going to decide for you, which is okay. It's your right, it's your prerogative, especially in this country. It is your right under our government to just check out, not have anything to do with it. That's, again, your choice, your option. You can do as you will. So we will look at socialism, because it's going to be something gripping our country in the next election cycle. And I don't know how much people really genuinely understand it, but we're seeing it happen all around us. And I think putting it all into context with all of the isms is helpful to us in trying to make sense of the world around us. So we'll pick that up as we go through the Gospel of Matthew on Thursday. We'll do the look at socialism, and very much look forward to sharing that with you. So hope to see you on Thursday as we work through the book of Matthew.